My husband's best man humiliated us at the altar, and it made my wedding perfect. My fiancé's best man Philip lost our wedding rings right as the priest asked for them at the altar. He searched his pockets frantically, checked his jacket, then announced to 200 guests that they were gone. The rings that belonged to our grandparents. The rings we'd had specially cleaned and resized. The priest just stood there with his hand extended waiting. 200 stared at us uncomfortably from their seats. I felt my legs give out beneath me and grabbed Anthony's arm so hard I left marks through his jacket. I couldn't process what was happening or understand how this was possible. All I could do was stare at Philip's empty hands as he turned his pockets inside out again. This can't be real. This can't be real. I kept whispering the same words over and over like a prayer. Maybe if I said it enough times, the rings would magically appear. But Philip just stood there without offering any real solution. He wasn't panicking or scrambling or showing any appropriate distress at all. He was checking his phone like he had somewhere else to be. His expression looked nothing like the man who'd been Anthony's roommate through 4 years of college. The guy who knew my coffee order and my biggest fears. Who'd spent 6 months helping Anthony plan the perfect proposal. Who'd given the most beautiful speech at our rehearsal dinner 12 hours ago. Anthony's voice was low and controlled, but I could hear the anger underneath. Philip, those rings are 4 generations old. They're irreplaceable family heirlooms. Where are they? The wedding coordinator rushed over from 3 different directions with her assistants buzzing around. They were searching under pews and in the vestry like the rings might have rolled away. The priest set down his Bible and moved toward Philip. I could see him fighting to maintain his composure. His voice came out strained and thin. Perhaps we should pause the ceremony until the rings are located. I felt sick standing there in front of everyone. The humiliation was unbearable. This wedding was supposed to be perfect. I had planned every detail for over a year. Every flower arrangement and menu selection and seating chart. The rings had been cleaned and resized 3 separate times to get them exactly right. Philip pushed past the groomsmen and walked straight to the front pew. He pulled out his phone again and started typing something quickly. Then he said, "Everyone needs to wait 30 more minutes before we continue." I almost lunged towards him. He held up his phone showing his messages. "I need 30 minutes. Please trust me on this." My mother stood up from her seat shaking with rage. "What kind of sick game are you playing with my daughter's wedding?" Philip turned to face the congregation. "The rings aren't lost. I know exactly where they are." "Then where are they?" Anthony demanded. "They're with someone I trust completely. Someone who's bringing them here right now." Philip's voice stayed perfectly level. "I can't explain yet, but in 30 minutes you'll understand everything." The church went completely silent as Philip continued. "I made a decision this morning that might seem insane, but I need you to trust that I would never ruin your wedding without the best possible reason." Anthony grabbed Philip's shoulder. "You gave our rings to someone else? My grandmother's ring that survived the Holocaust? I gave them to someone who needed to carry them here. Someone whose arrival matters more than staying on schedule." Philip checked his phone again. 25 minutes, please." The priest picked his Bible back up. "Young man, you're asking us to delay a wedding with no explanation. I'm asking my best friend to trust me one more time." Philip looked directly at Anthony. "Have I ever let you down when it mattered?" Anthony's jaw was clenched, but he slowly shook his head. "Never." "Then give me 20 minutes. Eliana, I know this seems crazy, but 20 minutes from now you'll forgive me." I had an impossible decision to make at that moment, but ultimately said, "Let's wait." Philip's never been reckless without reason. The guests settled uncomfortably back into their seats. Some were checking their phones. Others whispered about whether to leave. 19 minutes passed like hours. Philip kept checking his phone and watching the door. I held Anthony's hand so tight I knew it hurt, but he didn't pull away. The church doors opened, and a figure in military dress blues stood in the doorway. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing. "Lexi?" I whispered. "My sister. My little sister who was deployed to Afghanistan 8 months ago. Who'd missed every wedding event. Who'd cried on our last video call saying she couldn't get leave." She walked down the aisle holding a small velvet box. "I've got the rings. Sorry I'm late." I ran to her and collapsed in her arms sobbing. She was real and alive and at my wedding. Philip finally explained. "She got emergency leave 3 days ago. Called me crying. Made me promise to make sure she didn't miss the ceremony. The only way to stall without ruining the surprise was to pretend I lost the ring."